All right, so welcome everyone to our weekly sync. So yeah, we're going to go through the demo. We're going to take a module, and then we're going to go through the issues like we normally do. So yeah, we'll start with the demo now. Oh, she's here. All right. Does any team want to go first?
I guess him and I want to go first.
You know me, Reda, very well. And it's number 9 and you're 10, so I guess we are first. So, hey, Golfo.
Hello.
We'll start. We divided the task. Our issue was so small, and so it was difficult to divide. I need to share the screen. You have to give me access, Chamaka, please. So this week, our issue was simple. It was to create a filter for the shopping list to make it easier to locate an item in the list. And the most important criteria was that the filter text should match any part of the item name. So here, this is our lovely list. And we have a bunch of items. And as soon as I start typing, well, I don't have anything with K, but with J, it works. And for example, here it searches for the 2 words with J. And if I would like to search my entries with T, it would search all the T entries. And the same for pizza, and I've already prepared and stuff like that. So it works very well, and it was very fun to work with. And this is my very short demo, and now it's Debbie's turn to explain the most important part, which is the code. So
sorry, can I ask something? What happens if you enter white spaces around a word?
Well, let's see. I'm going to share it again. So, for example, T or salami. It doesn't work.
I think you had a typo in salami. I think it was SALI. There it is.
That's true.
No, and I mean, what happens
if
you put white spaces before? So if you put, or did you put some white spaces now? And you can't see it.
It worked. Just one, you see?
And
one white space.
If you put a white space
and it then goes to the last.
And put a white space, and then you write T, for example, will it find the T or not?
Yeah.
But it won't find just T by itself, right? So I think what Golf was getting at is that it's like it'd be a nice feature to trim off any white space on the beginning or end of the string.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that you could, some people, they might write T space and then just like kind of out of habit or something. But if they do that, they're not going to get T by itself. They're going to get only the ones that have
true.
T followed by an actual space. So
we have to stream it then.
Yeah, like a string trim or something. I don't think that's probably not specified in the acceptance criteria, but it'd be a nice improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. We haven't thought of that. I tested and tasted. I never enter white spaces maybe, but it's not an excuse. So thank you, Golfo, for bringing the attention to that. Please, Debbie, go ahead. I'm done.
Let me just share my screen. I don't know that. That's the Instagram. Right,
there I
so
am,
here's
yeah.
our here's our code. So we created a search component in list, which holds our form with our label called filter items, and then our input. We made it type search so that it automatically has, when you start typing, it'll have a little cross so that you can just remove the search, which was one of the acceptance criteria. We've got onChange, which takes the event and it sets the search term, which passes through that value. We passed through set search term and deconstructed it up here, which is coming from list. So we've set the use state here for search term. And then down here where we've got the component only shows when there is data. So when there's not data, it will show the welcome prompt. And when there is no data, it will show the welcome prompt. And when there is data, it will show the filter and the data. So it goes through the data and it filters it by the search term. And that's it, really. And it makes it lowercase, and then it maps through. And that's it.
Yeah.
It was a lot more complicated, but we've refactored it and made it a bit more simple.
Yeah, it's a nice, elegant solution. Yeah, it's like very kind of functional programming type solution. So that's really nice. And using the built-in includes method as well. Very cool.
Yeah, I also just want to add, great job. I don't have any other comments.
Thanks. We're going to fix what's missing.
Great job, Jiman and Debbie. Thank you very much. Have you any other comments with this solution?
No. Great job.
We jump to the Reda and Obi solution. It is the estimate issue.
Sure. I'm not sure if Toby can do the demo or not, so I will just okay, sure. So I will just share my screen. So our issue was to let me first create an item. Just add an item real quick. Add an item, and so our issue was actually is to calculate when the user will likely buy that item again, and that will happen like when he mark it as completed. Then we will calculate when he will buy it again. So, sorry, let me this annoying bar from Zoom. I will just delete just so I can actually have just one item to show, to not have to search for it. So here is the item when first added, we don't actually have the time frame actually is the thing that will be the calculation. What we will do when we will do the calculation, we will update the time frame. So at first is when we will mark the item as completed, it will be just this, it will update it, but it will update it to the same time frame, which is 14, what I choose at first. And then we will also increase the total purchases by 1. So if I change these, for example, for 1st May, and then check my item as completed as purchased again, we will see that it has been calculated, and now it still has that you will likely buy this again after 6 days. So this is the issue. This is our issue what we worked for, and now let me show the code. So for the code, like I needed to use the ETL function calculate estimates, and it accepts 3 arguments. For that, I've created another function that will get that arguments, and so I can use them in the calculate estimates. So I will start actually this estimate function. I will start it like from the end, so hopefully it will make sense. And so here is the calculate estimate. What will calculate where the user will likely buy the item again, and it takes 3 arguments: the previous estimates, the days since last transaction, and total purchases. So here is where I get in this estimate function, I am getting those arguments and then passing them to the calculate estimate. The first argument is the previous estimates, which is the time frame. It's the previous estimate purchase time that has been calculated before. The total purchases is how many times the item have been purchased, and that total purchases, that's why we didn't have that field into Firestore. So in our hook of the use add item, I actually added that here. So when the user add the item, it will initialize to 0. And the last thing is days since last transactions. And for the last argument, the days since last transaction, I've used another function that will get that. And it's basically what it's doing is just checking if we have the last purchase or no, because when the user at first created the item, we don't have the last purchase. The last purchase is null because he didn't actually buy that item yet. So if there is no last purchase, we are just returning the time frame, what the user already entered at first, which is soon, kind of soon, or can't remember the last one, but anyway, it's 7, 14, or 30 days. Otherwise, if we have the last purchase, then we are calculating that. And it's actually the current date in seconds minus the last purchase in seconds. This is just a function that calculates our the current dates in seconds. And we are reducing from it the item, the last purchase in seconds also. So we are getting the seconds since last transactions. And then we're converting that to days with the help of this function. Convert seconds to days. And that's it for our estimate function. So in conclusion, this estimate function will return how many days the user will likely buy the item again. And in our list item, when the user actually like check the checkbox, we will update our document. So we will do 2 things. We will use the estimate function to calculate the time frame or when the user will buy it again. And we are adding the total purchases. We are increasing the total purchases by 1. So we are using that item data, and we are getting the total purchases and increasing that by 1. And that's it for our issue.
Nice. I really like that pattern of, you have the 3 inputs that you need to use for that external function, which is a little bit of a black box that you just need to interact with. Setting it up so that you have it very clear, like right above it, like here are how those 3 things are defined. And then, and the way you demoed it too kind of reflected that too. Then going back and showing how you got to those values. That's a really nice, it'd be easy for someone to come in later and kind of read that code and understand what's happening. So nice job.
Thank you.
I also like the names. They're also very clear. I think we all improved in naming things. Your names are wonderful, Reda.
Yeah, it's DB superpower. So yeah, we are learning.
Yeah, she taught us that.
Very cool.
Yeah. You can go.
Sorry, by the way, Elliot, I'm not sure if I implemented the changes what you asked for correctly, because the last 3 days I wasn't home. So I did it just today real quick. So I'm not sure. I hope so. I hope that I did them correctly.
I only want you using magic numbers, etc. 1000 or any numbers. We moved these fields with another JavaScript file.
I've assigned that to. I have assigned that to like to a constant, but I guess we are using that in another files too. That number. I guess DB have used that number before in another file.
Yeah, that before. Because of that, we move both of them.
Yeah, I was thinking like
Another
maybe
constant,
the next week we can do some refactoring, because I guess even the function for calculating the current day in seconds also like it has been used before, I guess. So we can maybe next week do some refactoring and move all of them to one file.
Yeah, more better. Thanks.
Yeah.
Very good job, by the way.
Thank you.
Any comments?
I want to add some comments. Great job to you both, and generally to all of you. I see that every week you always improve the code you refactor. So each time the code looks a lot better than the last week. And yes, for you two, it worked very great. So you fulfilled the acceptance criteria, and the code was nice and clean. The only comment I want to make is I think I saw a function name, or was it a constant? I think it was the function name, the one that calculates something, that the name started with a capital letter. And usually we use this for class names. So it's not wrong, but the convention is to start function names or variable names with the lowercase letter. And this makes it helps it to be more readable. So that's my only comment.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
Yeah, I have one right here. It's usually because if I wrote the name before and it was like camel case, and if I deleted the first word, it stayed like it stayed like capital letter. So yeah, I'm gonna pay attention to that next time.
All right. I also wanted to say that I know that your issue was not particularly straightforward initially, and then seeing how you were able to like go back and then understand it and then implement it, and it works very well now. So kudos to you. That's really nice.
Kudos to your help. I made Shamaka crazy when she was trying to explain to me
no, you did not. With experience, this particular issue, it's the main feature in the app, of course. So it's a little bit tricky. Like every single cohort, we stumble on that particular issue, like a lot of back and forths before we got it. Seriously.
There is one sentence. There is one sentence in the calculate estimates, the ETL function, what we are getting, there is one sentence that's actually confusing a little bit. And I think that should change, because it, if I remember good, it says, use the last purchase time or use when the item was created. So that specific sentence that like use when it was created make me think that I need to keep track when the item was created, but it's actually we should use the time frame of the item when it was created. So I think that's a little bit make a little bit of confusion.
Yeah,
that's really good feedback. Yeah, I think there's been Shamaka and Golfo, there's a lot of confusion around whether like the first time that someone, when they add the item, whether that counts as a purchase or not, like some cohorts have or some teams have stumbled over that as well. So yeah, that is, Shamaka, you're right. Like that's one that a lot of teams kind of stumble over.
Yeah, that's what Shamaka was trying to like explain to me, because I was thinking when the item is added, it's purchased. But Shamaka
Mm.
was telling me, no, it's not. But
Yeah,
that
it's
idea
when
was
you
in my
think-
brain.
Yeah. I can see why how that can be confusing. As a matter of fact, it's actually when they tick the box.
Mhm.
And that's why we are taking note of that particular time when they tick the box, because that's what we need, not when they actually created the item.
Yeah, that's sort of it's like a user experience decision that the team could make. You know, like when I first wrote this app for myself, like 2.5 years ago or whatever, I was considering when I was imagining being in a store. I actually had like a thing that would read the barcode on the item and then look it up and stuff. It was really fancy. So I was thinking I would be in the store and I would pick something up off the shelf, I'd scan it, put it in my basket, and that would be the first purchase. And so, but then most teams have, I think, moved to, you want to make a list in advance and then go to the store and then just mark them off, right? So it's just kind of a difference in like how you kind of imagine using the app.
Yeah. I'm really happy it turned out well.
Yeah, good job.
Good job. All right. Andrew is going to take us through the communication for devs module.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's see. Shoot. So because I don't have my work computer anymore, I have to just take a second and set up my permissions for Zoom. My personal computer. Oh, and then I'm gonna have to quit Zoom and reopen. So I'll be right back.
Okay, so this is a nice chance to show you my dog. It left.
It's
it left.
hiding. It's hiding behind you.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to be shown.
It went under the desk.
What's her or his name?
Ira,
Yeah.
like the Greek goddess.
Nice. I see you didn't miss me. Okay. Well, first I'm gonna share my desktop and show you where I'm about to go. So this is a compiled Google map of all the places I plan to go over the next 2 months, all over through the U.S. Southwest, South, up the Eastern Seaboard, New England, all the way out to the very tip of Canada and then back across. So that's what I'm going to be doing between now and the end of June. So oops, and now I'm going to share just something much smaller, just one window. Actually, a portion of my screen. So. All right, cool. And then let me just move it on where I can see you. Chat. Cool. All right. I'm excited to talk to you all about communication for devs. It really is super key to being an effective developer. So, I think a lot of people have sort of a, maybe this idea that, because coding seems like the hard thing to learn at first, right? Like, it's like a new language. You're trying to, understand programming concepts and all this stuff. And it is, there is a learning curve there for sure. But lots of people learn how to code, but not everybody learns how to really work on a team effectively. And it's the whole reason why Collab was created, just to work on those skills, because that's really what is going to set you apart from other developers. Lots of people can learn to code. People that are good at working with other people are the ones that are really going to be effective, unless you're just working by yourself for the rest of your career, which is not very likely. So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about documentation. We're going to talk about pull requests, and then we'll talk about comments in code. So when we talk about documentation, why is it important? So it's really helpful for remembering. Even I guess this is an argument in favor of, even if you are working by yourself for the rest of your career, which is not likely, it's still a good idea to do some of these things, because 6 months from now, you may go back to your code and be like, what was I doing again? Like, why do I do that kind of tricky, clever thing here? So, just kind of documenting those things so that you you can come back to the code and quickly gain context is one reason. I know for me, when I write things down, I learn them a lot better. So, if I just read something or, watch a video or something like that, that's fine. But if I also go through the act of writing it down, it forces my brain to really kind of, attach to the concepts and things. So that's another reason to kind of document things. And then when you are working on a team, having that documentation around, why did we make this decision? It's really good for later on down the road. I know I've had a lot of times in my Zapier career where we did something and then we had to put it aside and work on something else and then come back to that original thing 3 months or 6 months later sometimes. And then you're like, okay, I see we made a decision here that doesn't make sense on the surface, but if we left good notes for ourselves, kind of, it's just easier to get back into the context of it and understand, why the team made the decision they did. The other thing, when you're on a team of developers, people come and go, and so maybe your team is growing and you have new people joining the team. So the more that you have things written down, the more documentation you have, the easier it is for people to ramp up on how the team works, how the code works, all those kinds of things. So super useful for that. It also kind of avoids having institutional knowledge or sort of knowledge that's like siloed in a single person. So some people call this the bus factor. I think that's a little rude. I'll call it the vacation factor. Like everybody on the team should be able to go on vacation and not have things fall apart. So one of the ways you can do that is you document things. So if you wrote a particular module in the application and you go on vacation and something happens with that, if it has good documentation around, the rest of the team can kind of fill in and they'll maybe get up to speed quickly and fix it without having to page you while you're out on a sailboat somewhere or something. So so it's really good for that. And then it's just empowering to everybody. So again, having things documented means that anybody on the team can kind of participate in building out any part of the application. So yeah, super important for all those reasons. So some tips around this are that to write for the person who knows the least. So what that means is assume if you're you may know the code inside and out, but a new person joining the team, maybe somebody who's kind of like yourselves early in their career, doesn't have a ton of context, like imagine that they're the ones reading the documentation. So you want to not make any assumptions, not use a lot of jargon, like really kind of write as if the person, I like to call it like they're infinitely smart and have zero knowledge, like they can learn anything, right? Like, but you can't assume that they know any of the things you're talking about. So just kind of write with that in mind. But then also optimize for the person who needs just a quick reference. So this is more of a formatting thing, and what it means is again, like let's say like this piece of code inside and out, but it's not you don't maybe know every parameter of every method or something. You don't have it all memorized. So if you just need to come in and quickly find a piece of information, having things organized in a way where you can scan to the right area, quickly get the information you need and get on with your job. That's another like a really nice kind of thing to do. So a really good example of documentation is React Router there's quick start guide. So it has wherever there's kind of some assumptions, like you may not know what Create React App is or something, they link off to more information about that. So they give you kind of like an instruction for how to get it started, but then they actually go into some detail about how to actually do that. This is actually, I believe this is auto-generated documentation. So this is kind of thing like if you can put comments in the code itself that then you run a script and it pulls that out and creates documentation based on it. So that's a really nice kind of automation kind of thing. But it includes commands that you can actually run. It also includes examples to help you get oriented. With a couple of different variations. So, and then a little bit of encouragement at the bottom, which is nice. So this is a really good example of formatting, but also just kind of writing to their audience. All right. Pull requests. So pull requests, a nicely written pull request gives your reviewers, the people who are reviewing your code, context around the change you were making, why you made decisions and things that you did. So it's hugely important because this is a big part of interviewing for coding jobs, is to, a lot of times that your interviewers will ask you to walk through a piece of code, either something like maybe you wrote a kind of like a coding sample for the interview, or sometimes the company will just ask you to show us some work that you did previously or something, but walk us through it. And so having a really good pull request description helps you remember. Again, this is a little bit like the last one of 6 months from now, or you can look back at that pull request and really kind of remember, oh, that's why we did that. That's why we used the approach that we did. You can tell this is a slide deck that Stacy makes, got little sparkles there. So like a really nice pull request description is going to have screenshots and maybe even GIFs and videos and things to kind of, maybe GIFs if it's an interaction that you built. So a GIF is nice for just showing, like when you click on this thing, this is what happens, kind of like looping. It could even have a video, an embedded, like a Loom video or something, where you talk through some of the changes if it's particularly complicated or something like that. And then links off to resources, and even in your description, you can link into particular lines of code in the pull request and kind of explain maybe some of your thinking there. It's really helpful to do a self-review before you ask others to review your code. So something I always encourage, and I don't see very many people do, is that, you can go through and you can actually leave comments in your code in the pull request for the code reviewers. So if you don't have to be 100% certain about everything that you put in your pull request. So if you got it working, but you're not super confident that it's a great solution or something, you could actually leave that as a comment around a particular function or something in your pull request to alert your code reviewers to maybe pay special attention to that area. Like, I did this, it works, but I don't feel great about it. Do you have a suggestion? You have like, is it okay enough? Is it going to scale? Like, whatever your questions are, so they know to tune into that piece and really focus on it. Because it's, sometimes a big pull request, as a reviewer, you can kind of like, you kind of get into this mode of skimming through it. But if there's a comment there, you'd be sure to focus on it as a code reviewer. To that point too, I mean, wherever you can, try to keep your PRs small and narrowly scoped. So what that means is, a great PR actually just, it makes one change that does one thing. So we've tried to scope your tickets here in the program where, to the point where that's, it's like we're calculating the estimate or we're implementing a filter, and that's the only thing that the pull request should do. In the real world, like, it's really tempting to like, well, while I'm here, I'll also fix this other thing. Now you have two separate things that the reviewer has to get context around. A better pattern would be to like do separate PRs for the two things that you want to work on. The smaller they are, the easier it is for code reviewers to just get in, understand what that change does, without a bunch of kind of distracting context or something. So this is an example that we usually show, of a pull request from way back in the day, so TCL 3. But it has this kind of, but actually a lot of these things are built into the template, and I saw y'all using those. I actually looked at the last couple of pull requests that you all submitted. But it has acceptance criteria. You'll see here that they're not even all selected. So there's actually a to-do down here. So that's totally valid too. But if you don't get to all the acceptance criteria in the time allotted, that you kind of say like, oh, well, we still have this one other thing to do. We'll make a separate issue for it. This is a nice feature of it closes this particular issue, a description, and this is actually broken up into a couple of sections. It's linking off to some of the documentation. This isn't the most accessible way to write a link, but that'll be covered in a future learning module. And then testing steps. So actually, like I said, I looked at a couple of your most recent pull request, and it has a lot of these features, and that's great to see. Like you're really taking this to heart, and it made it really easy to understand some of what you're working on. Nice work. All right, then comments. So commenting your code is one of these things that's a little bit like tabs versus spaces, where programmers will they'll be very opinionated about comments in code. So we're no different. We have a point of view on it. And how we approach it is, it's about working on a team. It's about making sure that everyone can be as effective as possible with, sort of as little cognitive overhead as possible and things. So we do think that there's a place for comments in code. Some people think the code stuff should be self-documented, but that's a little idealistic, I think. So comments in your code, it can give your team more context. So they're looking through the code, trying to see what's implemented. Having some comments there can just help them get oriented. And while code can be kind of self-documenting, the decisions behind the code is what's not always apparent. So yeah, we'll look at an example in a second. So yeah, so really the basic tip here is to focus on why the code was written rather than what the code does. So if x equals 2 or something, I mean, any programmer can look at that and understand, oh, okay, so when x is 2, it's going to do this block of code, but you don't know why you're comparing x against 2 necessarily, right? Like that's something that it might be worth leaving a comment about. So so we have this example here. So it's this kind of code block, and it's, if you look at it, return is array default index. So it looks like it's taking default index. If it's not an array, it's wrapping in an array. And then actually this is the bit with the little exclamation mark at the end. Like I would actually want somebody to explain that. But the comment here is, if multiple is set to true, we need to make sure the default index is an array and vice versa. We'll handle console warnings and prop types, but this will at least keep the component from blowing up. So it gives a little context as to, like, why do we need to do this kind of convoluted little block of code here? And it's also kind of serves as a warning for someone, like, oh, we don't need this, we could clean that up or something. Like, well, actually, like, we're keeping the component from blowing up. So until we come up with a better solution overall, we probably need to keep this in place. So it's a nice example of kind of documenting a little bit of the why behind that decision. So, and then I would love to hear from y'all. Like I said, like I looked at your pull requests and they look great. If it's, when you get into, maybe some more, like the last couple of weeks of the program are more design oriented and things, it may be worth putting in screenshots of before and after, if you're styling components and things like that. If there is something that's a little bit complicated, like you could consider recording a little video and kind of embedding it. But yeah, I'd love to hear just your experiences with documentation. Have there been times just in the last, what week are we on? Are we on week 5 or anyway? Like what's been your experience with it? Right.
Yeah, it has been great so far, and like the templates provided by like Collab is really great and it helps a lot. But my only problem is sometimes I feel that I am over describing things, and yeah, so I guess I don't know like what should actually like be in the poll. Should I describe every little thing or just the main ideas? So and I can't find the boundary between those two things. About comments, I see that I was commenting like what the cut does and not why I did it. So that's something I could improve. And
no, that's super common. Yeah, it's I think that understanding what that boundary is comes with context and like with experience and kind of and working with a group. So you've only been working with this group for a few weeks. If you were on a team and you were working together for a long time, you would kind of understand what sort of common knowledge on the team, what isn't, and that might guide you a little bit in terms of what to document in the PR. But again, it's almost hard to over describe because Even in that case, somebody new comes on the team and they may need to go back to that piece of code. So the more that is in that pull request description, the better for them. Like they're just getting oriented to it. So maybe not every, you don't need to describe every line of what's happening, but definitely sort of the main thing that the change is trying to accomplish. And then anything that sort of stands out as not super straightforward, that's good. It'd be good to leave a comment, but also sort of draw attention to it in the PR description. I think. Any of the mentors have anything to add to that?
About comments, I just want to add that, in the presentation, it said that some people are against comments, and that seems strange. Like, why would you be against comments? And the thing with comments is that if you don't remember to change them and update them when you change the code, sometimes what the comment says might not be the truth anymore. So, and the thing is, you can't have tests for comments to make sure that you don't break something. So you have to be careful and always update the comments.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, on a team that's fairly mature in the sense of their processes and things, you might have sort of working agreements around the team, or sort of a definition of done for tickets that would include things like make sure that the comments and the documentation are up to date with whatever the recent changes are. On a less mature team, just getting the work, kind of banging out the work and shipping it is maybe the priority, but then you get it into this kind of documentation debt or something, and where you can't trust the documentation anymore, and then it's kind of worthless and things. So it's a really good point. Helpful.
And I also have some more stuff to add. Like, for example, for PRs, I like that you said the PR should be small and they should do one thing. And this is really great because if you merge something and the app breaks, you know exactly what caused it. So you say, okay, it was my last MR, I'll go fix it. But if you have a huge MR, you can't really track the bug. And a great MR can be when you open an MR in one day and close it in the same day. So make really tiny ones, you merge them continuously instead of opening a PR on Monday and closing it on Friday. Of course, this is not always possible, but it's great to strive to merge them as quickly as possible. And another thing that when I was looking at this, so do you people think that tests also count as documentation? Because, tests kind of describe what the app does. And I think they also communicate very well what's going on with the code.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I think tests really, they can be a great way for a programmer to get oriented to what's the expected behavior of the module or whatever the thing is. Yeah.
Just a last thing, that a general tip about communication is what I really like is that whatever I'm planning to do, like in Slack, I'm writing, okay, I'm going to do this, or are you going to do that thing? So I always try to have it in writing, or after we have a meeting, I try to take some notes. So we document what we discussed about, and by taking notes, it's a nice way to confirm that you understood what the other person said. So if you write the notes, the person can say, you know what, I didn't say that, I meant something else, or somebody else can come in and have a discussion.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I've been in, and it's actually even more important in a remote team. But I've been in so many meetings when I did work with people in the same, when I was kind of co-located with people, where you'd have the meeting and everyone's nodding and everyone seems to agree, and you all walk out and you're like, what did we disagree on? So many times that's happened. So yeah, writing things down is super key. Yeah. Anything else? Jimena, Debbie, anything that you've kind of come across in terms of this communication, things that have worked, things that have been any friction that you've seen? Or
Like we had a taste of our medicine this week with comments, because like we made some beautiful comments and then we refactored and then we forgot to erase the comments. So
Yeah.
then Reda did a review and he was so confused and he said, the comment doesn't match the code. So I think what you say about updating comment is very, very important. So I'm glad that we hear about that, and everything that was said is so important. And yeah, listening to you guys saying, providing us with real scenarios help me understand more also, because when you don't have like real life experience, some things are like blurry, and in this sense it gives you a tangible example. Yeah.
Nice. And I just put in the chat a couple of examples of some conventions. I mean, I think there's a whole bunch of other ones. These are the ones that I most commonly use, where you make a comment that starts with to do or with fix me, and I think there are even scripts that will go through and sort of search your code for these things, or you can just you can search your code base for these things, so that you can leave. Sometimes you're in the middle of something and you want to finish that, and you need to come back and there's this piece that you need to fix, or like something that needs to be added later. So you can leave these comments as sort of a little breadcrumb for yourself to come back and find those things easily. So I don't know if any of the mentors have used those conventions in your own coding, but I don't know where I picked those up like 20 years ago, and I've been using them ever since. So.
Yep, I've not had to use it, but I've seen my colleagues use it. Like, yeah, like going back to refactor, it's mostly like going to upgrade and change some things that are not emergencies, but they can just like come back to it later and make it better.
Yep. Cool. All right. Anything else? Anything else while I'm here before I head off on my road trip? And probably won't be making it to many of the calls. I'll try to make it to the calls the last week just to kind of see the final demos and things, but I'm not actually sure where I'm going to be or like what kind of Wi-Fi I'm going to have or anything. So can't make any promises.
That sounds really exciting, seriously.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I think like your trip should be an issue for the future, and we have to do the issue and follow your step.
Oh, there you go.
Around America.
That's great. We'll make a project for it. All the different locations. That's tickets or something. Nice.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to drop. I'll let you talk about your issues for the coming week, but great to see you all. Great demos. Loved hearing you all talk through your code and everything. Love how the app's coming together. Nice work.
Thanks, Andrew, for visiting us.
Hey,
All right,
thank you
take
very
care.
much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
It means we are left with only Instagram to keep up with him. All right. Follow this. All right. So we're going over to issue 11 and 12 for this week. And 11 says, as a user, I want to be able to delete items from my shopping list so that my list isn't cluttered with items I don't want to buy in the future. So for this issue, we're going to add the delete functionality. It is possible our users may make an error when entering an item, or may decide they won't be buying a certain item again in the future. Let's help them keep their list tidy. So for the ACs, we have a user is able to delete an item from the list. Before deleting, prompt the user to confirm that they really want to delete the item to prevent accidental deletions. And then deletion should cause associated record in database to be deleted. As noted in the wireframe, activating the delete link should pop up a confirmation dialog because this is a destructive action. Many items jump to a modal as the solution here. Okay, many teams jump to a modal as a solution here, but modals are fraught with accessibility concerns. So consider using a simple JavaScript confirm dialog. All right. So activating delete. Okay. Yeah, so this issue is just about deleting, but before the items get deleted, you're supposed to like do a pop-up for the user to confirm that they actually want to delete the item or that they chose the right item to delete. So if they now click confirm on the pop-up, it should get deleted. If they click cancel or X or something like that, then it means that it's probably a mistake and they don't actually want to delete the item. And here it's just saying that using a modal might not be so accessible that you might consider using normal JavaScript dialog, like the alert that just comes on top like this here, instead of using a modal. Yeah. So that's it about issue 11. I think it's straightforward. Do you have any questions?
Incredibly, I don't have any questions so far.
All right, let's see the 12. Okay, 12 says, as a user, I want to view a list of my shopping list items in order of how soon I'm likely to need to buy each of them again, so that it's clear what I need to buy soon. Possible item states are as follows: need to buy soon, fewer than 7 days. So based on the issue that Radar and Toby worked on, where you've already calculated when the user is supposed to buy the items next. So this issue, you're supposed to like sort the days according to which one is getting closer and which one is still far. So the ones that are getting closer are supposed to come up. The ones that are far away are supposed to be under. So these are the states, the possible states that we'll have. So the need to buy soon is fewer than 7 days. Need to buy kind of soon is between 7 days to 30 days. Then need to buy not soon is above 30 days. And then there is also the inactive state, when there is only one purchase in the database, or when the purchase is really out of date, like when the time the user was supposed to buy the item has elapsed 2 times when it was supposed to be bought. Like if the estimated time was supposed to be in 7 days and it got to 7 days, the user didn't buy it, got to 14 days, which is 2 times when they were supposed to buy it, they still didn't buy it at the 14th day, then you should consider the item inactive. That's the inactive state. So the acceptance criteria, yeah, it says items in the list are shown as virtually distinct. Example, with a different background color on the list according to how soon the item is expected to be bought again, which is soon, kind of soon, not soon, and inactive. The states we have here already. So each of them should have a different color so that the user will know which group each item belongs to. So secondly, the items should be sorted by the estimated number of days until the next purchase, of course. Then the items with the same number of estimated days until next purchase should be sorted alphabetically. So if 2 items are due in 7 days, then you should sort alphabetically for those 2 items. So items in different states should be described distinctly when read by a screen reader. Okay, so you can use Arial label to like show exactly when the item is supposed to be bought, whether it's soon, kind of soon, based on these states. So note that the criteria for an item being inactive has tripped up teams in the past. It's been rewarded to be more clear, but the gist is that an item is inactive if the time has elapsed since its last purchase is 2 times when they like. So this English is so long and confusing. So if an item, as I explained before, if an item was supposed to be bought in 7 days and the user does not buy it after 7 days and then after 14 days, so 2 times when it was supposed to be bought, then it's inactive. It's just that. So yeah. If it was supposed to be 14 days and then after 28 days they still have not bought the item, it's inactive. So teams in the past have also over-engineered the solution here by breaking the list out into separate groups, but it should be achievable in a single list where the virtual treatment is different based on what category they belong to. Okay, be sure to not only use color to denote how soon the user will need to buy the items as noted in the wireframe. Good luck. Okay. Okay. Did you say be sure to not only use color to denote when you need to buy? Yeah, so you can use background color, you can use text color, and then this is the area label for screen readers. I can also use the different states we have: soon, kind of soon, not soon, and inactive as the area label, so that if someone is reading with a screen reader, they also know that that item is to be bought soon or it's inactive, as the case may be. Yeah. So this issue is basically saying that when a user comes to the app and they have a list of items that they have in their shopping list, they should be able to just look at the list and then know which ones are close to be bought and which ones that they don't need immediately and which ones that are inactive. So how you can achieve that? By they have different states, 4 different states that an item can belong to. It's fewer than 7 days that it needs to be bought based on the estimate that we already have in database. Then kind of soon is 7 to 30 days. Not soon is above 30 days. And then there's the inactive. So the user should be able to see the fewer ones, the ones that should be bought immediately. They should be at the top of the list, then followed by kind of soon and then not so soon. Then the inactive should be at the bottom, of course, with a different color and a different background, as the case may be, or however you want to do it, but it should just be different. Yeah.
There should be then like 4 colors. Like soon, yeah, including the inactive ones. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, should be like 4 groups, virtually different. Once you look at it, you'll know that there are 4 different groups going on. All right. Any other questions for this issue and what we paid this week? Today is 8. Okay, Toby and Imena, Debbie and Rita. So do you have preferences for the issues? It's for the delete. This is for the sorting. So do we do randomly? Imena, why don't you have a preference today? All right. Okay, so Reda and Toby can take.
No, it's
Reda
Reda
and Toby.
no, it's Reda
Debbie.
and Debbie, yeah.
Yeah. So are you okay with taking issue 12?
Of course. I don't know. Let Debbie decide.
It seems really confusing, but I'm sure we can do it.
Yeah.
All right. You can always reach out on Slack, even before the office hours. You can always jump on a call and look at it together.
Don't worry, Dibe. I won't let you alone this time.
Yeah. All right, that's it. We are left with one issue after this one, which is styling and refactoring. All right. I guess that's it. I don't have any other. All right, so that will be it. See you on Slack. Okay, so I'm taking the code review this week. So when you're ready, please tag me to your code on GitHub, and then Elite is taking the office hours. All right, see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.